All right, do I really want to cut this thing open? Yeah, I've come too far. Hey, what is up? Zach here, and yes, this is the one tennis fans have been waiting for, the On Roger Pro. Now let me tell you, there is so much going on with this shoe when you actually take it out of the box and look at it, so let us not waste a minute. Let's get into it with the fit. And it really is interesting. This shoe to the naked eye looks pretty minimalist. However, once you get it on your foot, it is a really substantial shoe. And immediately that substance in the shoe, you really feel it on the lateral flange, right here on the lateral forefoot. Just a ton of material, a lot of foam. It's really wide right there too. You can really tell the priority of the shoe right away as soon as you slip your foot into it. It's stability in the forefoot. Now at first glance, when you're looking at these shoes on TV, they actually do look a little narrow. However, this shoe is super wide in the forefoot because Federer's foot is really wide. If you remember that graphic from the previous video, Federer does have a pretty wide foot. He does have a tailor's bunion, and when you put these shoes on, there is zero break-in even for a 2E width foot. I even thought I probably could have gone down a half size because of how wide this shoe was. The uppers are super plush, really no break-in there, nice forefoot. The midsole, however, is just a tad hard when you first step into it. And what makes these uppers so comfortable and plush, number one, is this ridiculously padded tongue, but it is ventilated all the way up and down, so you do get a little bit of that airy, breezy feeling, and that extends all the way up into the vamp and the toe box of the shoe, where everything is pretty much just mesh in the shoe, so it does breathe exceptionally well. It also keeps the shoe feeling pretty light in the uppers. The other thing that makes the uppers so comfortable is the heel counter is actually pretty low. It's really stiff here with this plastic reinforcement ring on the bottom, but up here it's pretty much just this rubbery material around the higher part of the heel counter. Now it remains to be seen how stable the shoe is going to stay with that during an actual match or playing situation, but just walking around or just getting into the shoe, super comfortable in the heel as well as forefoot. I think the coolest part about the uppers, if you haven't noticed it yet, is this shoelace lock down here with the button right on the tongue. Not only does it lock your shoelaces in so you're not running all over them, but also it is a pretty cool way to put the On logo and the R logo. This is very similar to the shoelace garage on the Asics Gel Resolution 8. Now the uppers do have a durability guard on them for toe dragging and sliding. However, with the durability test and the Dremel 10 seconds highest grit sandpaper, over a millimeter of damage, the Dremel did bite through it pretty easily. You can kind of tell that the durability wrap is meant more for comfort and to protect the shoe through short bursts of use versus other shoes which are meant for months and months and months of hard use. All right, now the midsole teardown on this had to have been number one, my most difficult midsole teardown and the most revealing. On says they have a speed board on these. Now their typical speed board is made of Pebex, which is a plastic substitute on their running shoes. This is made of carbon fiber. It's like a plastic encased carbon fiber. And this thing was not coming off. So I actually had to separate it around it. So you can see it almost like fits like a Lego piece in here. It's like interlocking. So I actually had to go around it because I just was not getting through that without destroying the shoe, and I really didn't want to do that. Now the midsole teardown really showed that the On Roger Pro is a lot different than their running shoes. Look at their running shoes. Look, Cloud Tech pods on the outside, and then that speed board down here, which is made of that Pebex plastic material. This is one of their trail running shoes. Now, if you look at the Roger Pro, number one, a carbon fiber shank and none of the Cloud Tech pods. Now, that makes sense to me because those Cloud Tech pods really don't give you a ton of lateral stability. They're made more for pushing off and giving you a lot of energy return, especially when going up a hill. This shoe needs to be made for lateral stability. Now, the foam seems the same. It is a pretty hard, dense foam in the heel as well as the forefoot. The heel stack was only 2.5 centimeters, 1.4 centimeter heel to toe drop, so it is a pretty low profile shoe. However, with how dense the foam is, you're not going to bottom out the heel anytime soon. However, you are probably going to start feeling the court and the forefoot. But the biggest thing I learned during the teardown is that On was laser focused at creating a lightweight, maximalist shoe, which is no small feat of engineering. If you look at the weight of these, it's only 15.73 ounces for my size 11.5 men's shoe, which is pretty light for how much stability this shoe gives you, especially here in the heel counter. If you remember the beginning of the video, I said, this might be a little floppy. It's really not. Once half of it's gone, it's still really stable. Plus you have the thick lateral flange with the plastic reinforcement and the carbon fiber plate, which I couldn't even get my knife through. I couldn't even break it going this way. Whereas in some other shoes like the Onyx, I'm usually able just to crack right through it. On the Ons, you can't. So you can tell this shoe was made to withstand just an incredible amount of force while still keeping pretty nimble. It's gonna be a lot of fun to play with these during the performance review. But the most striking part of this shoe has to be its outsole tread. There really is no tread depth on it. It's just one continuous piece of rubber with some sliced out diamond patterns. Now this shoe is going to give you the maximum amount of ground contact and the maximum amount of surface area on a court. However, it's pretty much going to be useless on grass, clay, or carpet. It's really meant for a well-maintained hard court. Kind of remains to be seen how it's going to do on that hard court during the playtest. And on the outsole durability test, the Dremel 10 seconds highest grit sandpaper, about 2 millimeters of damage, which is really on the softer side of rubbers that we've seen this year. So you can kind of tell where this shoe is going. It's made for short use. It's made for that soft rubber, really tacky compound for as much grip on a court as possible. It's not made for durability. Another big thing about the outsole tread is that it is more of a rolled pattern on the outside. Now this is intentional by On to allow for swifter movement. However, it's also going to decrease the durability of the outsole as well. Now I know this is going to be a cliche because these are Roger shoes, but after tearing them down, this shoe really kind of gives me the feeling of just a pure player's fluid movement type shoe. I'm not really seeing a ton of durability from this shoe, and I'm also really not seeing a ton of plush comfort from the midsole. This shoe just seems to me like it is made for someone to go in and play as hard as they possibly can for a couple of sets or a couple of matches, and then the shoe's going on the shelf. Now On has made a huge deal of the fact that this shoe is made for Roger Federer and designed for his style of play and his style of footwork. But I also want to see, does all this engineering they put in there also translate into a decent shoe for just the average player, not the elite professional? That's why I'm so excited to get these on the court. Now, if you want to see how these perform on court, make sure you're subscribed, because that video coming up next.